Ingersoll's New Departure. What shall we do to be saved? This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. What Shall We Do to Be Saved was delivered in McVickers Theater, Chicago, September 19th, 1880. This is from the Chicago Times verbatim report. It's part of the book Lectures of Colonel Robert Greene Ingersoll. Ladies and gentlemen, fear is the dungeon of the mind, and superstition is a dagger with which hypocrisy assassinates the soul. Courage is liberty. I am in favor of absolute freedom of thought. In the realm of the mind, everyone is monarch. Everyone is robed, sceptered, and crowned, and everyone wears the purple of authority. I belong to the republic of intellectual liberty, and only those are good citizens of that republic who depend upon reason and upon persuasion, and only those are traitors who resort to brute force. Now I beg of you all to forget just for a few moments that you are Methodists or Baptists or Catholics or Presbyterians, and let us for an hour or two remember only that we are men and women. And allow me to say man and woman are the highest titles that can be bestowed upon humanity. Man and woman. And let us, if possible, banish all fear from the mind. Do not imagine that there is some being in the infinite expanse who is not willing that every man and woman should think for himself and herself. Do not imagine that there is any being who would give to his children the holy torch of reason and then damn them for following where the holy light led. Let us have courage. Priests have invented a crime called blasphemy, and behind that crime hypocrisy has crouched for thousands of years. There is but one blasphemy, and that is injustice. There is but one worship, and that is justice. You need not fear the anger of a God whom you cannot injure. Rather fear to injure your fellow men. Do not be afraid of a crime you cannot commit. Rather be afraid of the one that you may commit. There was a Jewish gentleman went into a restaurant to get his dinner, and the devil of temptation whispered in his ear, "Eat some bacon." He knew if there was anything in the universe calculated to excite the wrath of the infinite being who made every shining star, it was to see a gentleman eating bacon. He knew it. And he knew the infinite being was looking, and that he was the infinite eavesdropper of the universe. But his appetite got the better of his conscience, as it often has with us all, and he ate that bacon. He knew it was wrong. When he went into that restaurant the weather was delightful, the sky was as blue as June, and when he came out the sky was covered with angry clouds, the lightning leaping from one to the other, and the earth shaking beneath the voice of the thunder. He went back into that restaurant with a face as white as milk, and he said to one of the keepers, "My God, did you ever hear such a fuss about a little piece of bacon?" As long as we harbor such opinions of infinity, as long as we imagine the heavens to be filled with such tyranny, so long the sons of men will be cringing, intellectual cowards. Let us think, and let us honestly express our thought. Do not imagine for a moment that I think people who disagree with me are bad people. I admit, and I cheerfully admit, that a very large proportion of mankind, and a very large majority, a vast number, are reasonably honest. I believe that most Christians believe what they teach, that most ministers are endeavoring to make this world better. I do not pretend to be better than they are. It is an intellectual question. It is a question first of intellectual liberty, and after that a question to be settled at the bar of human reason. I do not pretend to be better than they are. Probably I am a good deal worse than many of them. But that is not the question. The question is, bad as I am, have I a right to think? And I think I have, for two reasons. First, I can't help it. And secondly, I like it. The whole question is right at a point. If I have not a right to express my thoughts, who has? Oh, they say, we will allow you. We will not burn you. All right. Why won't you burn me? Because we think a decent man will allow others to think and express his thought. Then the reason you do not persecute me for my thought is that you believe it would be infamous in you. Yes. And yet you worship a God who will, all you declare, punish me forever. The next question is, can I commit a sin against God by thinking? If God did not intend I should think, why did He give me a thinker? Now then, we have got what they call the Christian system of religion, and thousands of people wonder how I can be wicked enough to attack that system. There are many good things about it, and I shall never attack anything that I believe to be good. I shall never fear to attack anything I honestly believe to be wrong. We have, I say, what they call the Christian religion, and I find, just in proportion that nations have been religious, just in that proportion they have gone back to barbarism. I find that Spain, Portugal, Italy are the three worst nations in Europe. I find that the nation nearest infidel is the most prosperous, France. And so I say there can be no danger in the exercise of absolute intellectual freedom. I find among ourselves the men who think at least as good as those who do not. We have, I say, a Christian system, and that is founded upon what they are pleased to call the New Testament. Who wrote the New Testament? I don't know. Who does know? Nobody. We have found some 52 manuscripts containing portions of the New Testament. Some of those manuscripts leave out 5 or 6 books, many of them. Others more, others less. No two of these manuscripts agree. Nobody knows who wrote these manuscripts. They are all written in Greek. The disciples of Christ knew only Hebrew. Nobody ever saw, so far as we know, one of the original Hebrew manuscripts. Nobody ever saw anybody who had seen anybody who had heard of anybody that had seen anybody that had ever seen one of the original Hebrew manuscripts. No doubt the clergy of your city have told you these facts thousands of times, and they will be obliged to me for having repeated them once more. These manuscripts are written in what are called capital Greek letters. They are called uncial characters. And the New Testament was not divided into chapters and verses even until the year of grace 1551. Recollect it. In the original, the manuscripts and gospels are signed by nobody. The epistles are addressed to nobody, and they are signed by the same person. All the addresses, all the pretended earmarks showing to whom they are written and by whom they are written, are simply interpolations, and everybody who has studied the subject knows it. It is further admitted that even these manuscripts have not been properly translated, and they have a syndicate now making a new translation. And I suppose that I cannot tell whether I really believe the Testament or not until I see the new translation. You must remember also one other thing. Christ never wrote a solitary word of the New Testament. Not one word. There is an account that he once stooped and wrote something in the sand, but that has not been preserved. He never told anybody to write a word. He never said, Matthew, remember this. Mark, don't forget to put that down. Luke, be sure that in your gospel you have this. John, don't forget it. Not one word. And it has always seemed to me that a being coming from another